Landon is in 5th grade and Skylar is in 2nd grade. Yeah, right there. And then here's our flag.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
America, love you.
Thank you. Thank you, Landon and Skylar. That was great. So at this point, the next thing on the agenda is moving to the reading of the preamble to the Constitution of the State of Colorado, which would then be followed by a moment of silence. So, we, the people of Colorado, with profound reverence for the supreme ruler of the universe, in order to form a more independent and perfect government, establish justice, ensure tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the state of Colorado. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. So, members of the board, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Second. Can we have a roll call, Kelly?
Yes. Austin?
Aye.
Illingworth?
Aye.
Kimbrell?
Aye.
Patterson?
Aye.
Rusterholz?
Aye.
Okay, the agenda is approved. Next on the agenda, under Roman numeral 4, is the district and community spotlight. And tonight we're going to be having a presentation on STEAM at the Woodland Park Middle School. Okay, so who do we have as presenters?
My name is Benjamin Honeycutt. I am one of the STEAM teachers at Woodland Park Middle School, and I'm here with
Kelly Bradley, the librarian and media specialist.
Well, welcome, welcome.
And most importantly, we also had 6 student volunteers that will also be here helping us today.
Oh, who are they?
So, and I can go over, we have Ryder Bergens here, if you want to stand.
Welcome.
Tristan Tisdall.
Welcome.
Bella Register. We have Brinley Havens, Quinn Morris, and Paige Bissu.
Awesome, welcome, thank you.
All right, it's an absolute honor to be here today. I think our entire STEAM program thanks you all for the invitation. And no, we're just excited to kind of talk about some of the things that we've been up to with our new STEAM program. So to break it down, you can break down STEAM into basically every letter of the word. So S, it starts with science, and today Ryder Bergens and Tristan will be talking about how they have been using the scientific process and what they're doing in our STEAM lab. We go into technology as well with STEAM, and that's where Brinley Havens and Paige will be talking about their project that they've been working on. For engineering, that's where we have Quinn Morris talking about engineering in our STEAM lab. And then for the arts, Bella is going to talk about her project, her major project she's doing in our school and project she's hoping to do in our community. And finally, we end with math, which will just kind of be a Q&A with students about how we incorporate math and financial literacy in our STEAM program. So our STEAM team at the middle school, it starts with Kelly Bradley. Kelly, I like to call the Swiss Army knife of our STEAM team. Whenever we have any issue whatsoever, I mean, she kind of knows it now when she sees my walk up to her office and I'm like, Kelly, we're having some issues. And I can guarantee within 30 minutes, she'll have 3 solutions ready to roll. And she's the one who really helps us out behind the scenes. What we do wouldn't be possible without her. We also have Josh Davidson, who is our art teacher. Josh is, I think, the person, I think all of my students will agree, who helps us go deeper with our projects, who helps us. They can start by 3D printing in my room, which they're very excited to talk about, but then Josh helps students go deeper with that and applies a real world focus to that as well. And then there's me. I'm the technology former STEM teacher, but I think something that's really important is one thing that we're moving to in our school is that we want to be STEAM teachers, part of an overarching STEAM program. And our hope is that by 2025, that will include accreditation to be a STEAM school in Woodland Park Middle School. So to kind of talk about, this started, I would say, in the spring of last year. We sat down with Superintendent Tina Cassens and kind of just talked about how we had an opportunity to bring a makerspace and a STEAM program to our school. And after talking to Tina, our vision was we wanted to try to be able to give direct access to 21st century learning skills to all of our students so that they are using state-of-the-art technologies, but more importantly, learning how they can use state-of-the-art technologies for their future careers. And I think how I put it whenever I'm in a parent meeting or whenever I'm talking to someone is we want to help students transition from being consumers of technology to being creators with it, to learning how they can start making new businesses and not waiting until they're done with college to think about it, starting them right now. And our goal is to put those tools in their hands as part of the program. And for research, Principal Goings was kind enough to allow us to tour 4 makerspaces in Colorado Springs and ask questions and figure out what we were wanting to incorporate in our makerspace. And then for design, Mr. Davidson worked with an 8th grader last year on designing, using a CAD program to design what our makerspace could look like. And then for funding, I led the charge and was able to help receive as well, with the oversight from Mrs. Bradley and Mr. Davidson, 3 grants that helped us fund the equipment that we had in the room this year. The overarching mission really became, especially after talking to Tina, was to really help students start student-led projects that have direct impact in the real world. And students took the lead. Link Bryden, now a freshman, actually said he knew about what we were doing and asked for permission so that his final product last year was helping design what our new STEAM room can look like. And you can kind of see to the left, he worked really close with Mr. Davidson using a computer program called Trimble SketchUp, which really allows a lot of students the introduction to engineering and architectural engineering. And he and other students worked to actually get the room cleared once the design was in place, and worked very closely with Kelly to make that happen as well. Student-led became really a through line from that point, because this is what showed us what students were capable of. And honestly, if there was any way to sum up what this presentation is today, it's student-led, because they have taken the lead from this moment and since that time. So you can kind of see Link's design, and you can see a picture right beside Link's design of Link's design was from May 2022, and with the exhausted effort of Miles Tuttle and Ron Stone, as well as Kelly working in the summer as well, this room became an idea or a sketch and is now a reality that students are in and working in every single day. And yeah, this is the space today. So you can see in these pictures here, you kind of see the 3D printers that we had that we got through grants, through CAP grants, as well as a grant through the AFACA. And you also see the now entrance to the new computer lab that got developed as well. And at this point, this is where I'm very honored to kind of transition to show, now that we've got the year started, what students have been up to with the space and equipment that we have. So Ryder, if you'd like to step up here. All right, so Ryder, if you want to show up, what was your first design that you made with the 3D printer?
It was this Eggman.
An Eggman. At first I was like, are we talking like the Beatles here? What are we talking about? But how did that first design go when you made it?
It wasn't that good. It was supposed to have chicken legs, but the chicken legs were too skinny, so the whole egg part could not support.
And something that's fun, so he comes up with this Eggman idea, and this year I've kind of transitioned from being like a teacher to an air traffic controller. And so I kind of sat beside him and was like, maybe you want like more of a foundation, like maybe try that. How did that work once you had like thicker legs?
It worked a lot better, so
yeah.
that's how it did.
And after the Eggman, what was the next step?
I made a mini functioning golf course.
Yeah, functioning mini golf course. Yeah, so I gotta say, I kind of pushed Ryder a little bit because he was wanting to make a third iteration of the Eggman, and I was like, all right, let's try something. Try something else. And then Ryder comes to me and is like, oh, I'm working on a mini golf course. And unfortunately, this is where he was already above what my instruction was, but was I still able to help you?
No, not at all.
Luckily, you were able to get a professional though. Who was able to come in and help? Oh, another 8th grader. Okay, yes.
Do you mind passing the projects around so we can see them?
All right, so Tristan, would you like to talk about exactly how you're leading the charge in this room?
Yeah, so I'm Tristan, and Ryder also made a pool table that was functioning, but he also had the same problem when he was trying to get the ball through the holes and make it go to the return. So I had an idea to use a triangle tool on the platform and use gravity so the ball can just roll in and then roll right next to the
And Norman, are you using, is it Tinkercad that you use?
yes, I use Tinkercad, the same platform that Ryder used. And yeah.
And so if you actually hit B into this pool table here, are you saying it rolls out like a real pool table?
Yes, so no matter what hole it goes in on this side, or either side, it goes to this return on both sides. And it can go in through any hole and it will end up here.
So like a real pool table. All right, so and what with so you 3D printed that. Where did you get the colors and the fab? Where'd you go next?
Okay. So when I first printed it, it was all white, and then I went to Mr. Davidson, our art teacher, and he let me paint it brown or whatever color I wanted. He just gave me all the paints, and then I also got the fabric from him that he uses in other projects too.
And so what's the next step after making like a pool table? What's your next step after this?
I want to make a lot more functioning things, and the next thing that I'm designing is a pinball design. That's the design, and it's gonna use the same tools as the return, so it's just gonna have triangles for the ball to roll to the return, so there's no problem from the screen.
So I gotta be honest with you, every single day, it's like, I feel like I'm a bit of a border collie with my 6th graders because they come in and they just go right to that pool table. So what can I tell my 6th graders if they're wanting to get like one of your pool tables or a pinball machine?
Okay, so after I make all of the things that I want to, in our school, we have a lure store, so I'm thinking of making them, painting them, doing whatever I need with them, making them all functional, and then selling them at the store, and then having the money go back into Steam for everything.
Amazing. All right, Tristan, thank you so much, my friend.
All right, so for our next process, we're going to go from a local effort. This is kind of the local effort that Ryder and Tristan are pioneering, and not only pioneering, we are actually sitting down with them, Mr. Davidson and I, and figuring out their process so that next trimester, we can teach our entire classes how they can make maybe a functioning 18-hole mini golf course. And it's an interesting dynamic because it's us teachers sitting down with students to figure out their process, but it's a lot of fun. And so watching them do amazing things at the local Woodland Park level has been incredible. And it's also fit into the legacy projects of some of our students who are actually making an entire global effort. So Brindley, if you, absolutely. If you'd like to step up here.
Thank you. So before this whole process started, I walked into STEM one day to ask Mr. Honeycutt a question for STEAM, and he was like, "Hey, Brenly, we're doing this really cool Africa project where like the school in Twinsbright, this Twinsbury School from Eldoret, Kenya, is trying to get money to build a library. So we're actually partnered with the school now, and we've been partnered with them since fall 2019. And they have a dream to build a library for the students and orphans in their community. Woodland Park School District student Cheyenne Becker led an effort to collect school supplies in 2019. Cheyenne collected a ton of supplies and donations through the spring of 2020 and donated them in 2021. Cheyenne, are you here today? Cheyenne, we want to thank you for getting this project started. You're such an inspiration to us now. Cheyenne's efforts as a middle schooler helped bring a new playground in Twinsbury in 2022. This fall, they told us about the dream of adding a library to the community. This gave us a new mission, and now Paige will tell you about it.
Hello, my name is Paige Rocio. I'm an 8th grader who attends Woodland Park Middle School, and I have a dream of bringing a library to kids who aren't as fortunate as some of the kids here in Woodland Park. And because of this, I am part of the group Kenya Read Project. I'm here to talk to you about how we are using technology to help us complete our dream. With the help of technology, we have been able to brainstorm and make ideas of merchandise that we are going to sell in the near future. Some of these items are made from 3D printing that we have designed on our own. We are making items that will sell so that all the money can help us create this library in Kenya. We are also hoping to create a website so we can get our word out as much as possible. With every item sold, we are closer to being able to give Kenyan children a library. We are working with our classmates to find out what products they'd be interested in buying. This includes bookmarks, holiday ornaments, and keychains, and lots more. With the help of technology and hardware we have, we believe we can transform the life of children in Twinsbury. Before I hand over the mic, not really handing it, to Glenn Morris, me and my partners would like to give the board members a gift.
Would you be so big? I know, I'm sure he gets it, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Open it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Is it the bottom?
Hello, my name is Quinn Morris, and we are wanting to make stickers, 3D prints, bookmarks, and rubber bands. We use some awesome technology to make some really cool stuff. We used a machine called a 3D printer, which creates 3D objects from a variety of materials, like molten plastic and powders. 3D prints can come in a variety of shapes and sizes, like stuff that can go on your desk, to materials used in 3D printed houses. I'm touching on this because this is one of the main machines we use. We also use computers to make stickers, bookmarks, etc. But back to the cool stuff. 3D prints are amazing, and we have worked with Tinkercad to make some really cool designs, like keychains and ornaments. Brinley, would you like to come talk about the design process?
So as soon as Mr. Honeycutt shared with me that the school wanted us to make something to get money towards the library, I hopped right onto Tinkercad and was like, let's design a keychain that's shaped like Africa that has a cool like slogan or logo. So I first came up with the library project. It's on the table over there. I'll pass them around in a minute. But we later found out after we made 2 designs of them that name was already taken. So we did a little more research and we came up with a new slogan, Kenya Dream Library, where we printed a lot of them and they're in your gift bags if you already opened them. And so we want to be able to sell these as keychains, and we have so many different colors that the printers can print. So we're selling these in different colors in the Panther store at our school. And then we're funding that money towards the school in Kenya. So that's the keychain 3D printing part of our process.
All right, Mrs. Bradley, would you like to take it?
Grab some Okay, so I have been doing a lot of research to help get this program up and off the ground and to kind of give my STEAM boys like anything and everything they wanted. But with all of that, I discovered what's called STEAM in a jar. And so it's literally STEAM in a jar. And what this is a jar full of different task cards, like just little mini experiments that the kids can do. So there's one for each letter of STEAM, and even though it might emphasize, like this card I have here is for engineering, of course there's going to be other elements of STEAM involved, but this is more heavily leans on engineering for the kids to do. So this was so we created an entire STEAM in a jar experimentation bar area for the kids. And this just kind of brings differentiation to the STEAM aspect for kids. So when they're done, or maybe a kid is really not buying into the whole techie aspect or the art aspect, because it's just not their thing, that they can go into the STEAM in a jar experimentation area, grab one of these task cards and kind of run with that. And I got it fully stocked with all the supplies that they would possibly need for every possible task card, and got all 4 of those cabinets ready to go. And fortunately, then I went and had my surgery done. I'm stuck at home, and I'm like, please let me know when kids finally do this. I need to know this, right? So Honeycutt was blasting me with some texts and photos and even videos that the students were taking of their stuff, and they just ran with it. And so, for example, one of the things they did was an art card, and they did just melting crayons on a board. And then, I was like, oh, it'd be cool if we could do something at School Spirited. And then they're like, what if we make a panther with 3D? I'm like, yeah, do that. And then they're like, can we melt crayons on the panther? And I'm like, yeah, try it. Let's see how it turns out. And so I wanted to show you, this is a perfect example of what can happen when you just set kids free and you let them just do their thing. We give them the tools, but this is when you just believe in them and can set them free. This is a great example of what they will produce. So I really want everyone to see this.
And we actually have the designer of the panther head here today, Jacob. It's pretty funny because he had this design up, and he calls me over and he said, Mr. Honeycutt, I'm having some issues here. And it was his first try, so I was prepared for the speech. It was your first try, it's okay. And then he shows me something that is beyond anything I've ever created, and it was like, oh, how can I help you here? And he's like, oh, I just need a flash drive, and then I'm good to go. But yeah, Jacob, you went above and beyond. Thank you, seriously. All right, Bella.
Hi, my name is Bella and I'm a 7th grade student at Woodland Park. I said that I would love to be in a legacy project during the English class, and this is where the project began. I started working with Miss Wiley and Mr. Davidson, Miss Bradley for the dimensions of the wall to start painting. When we're finished with this legacy project, my next goal is to create a giant mural for Woodland Park. And I hope that this mural will greet every student that walks in the library for as long as it stays up until the end of 2022.
And Bella, watching you paint this mural already is amazing. Because we're in October, and you're already doing something that you want to greet every student with such an awesome message. What's next? What would you like to do after this?
So after this, once the mural is all done, like I said, I am going to have a goal of creating something like this, but for Woodland Park. But this is going to be kind of like a long process, and just kind of like for painting this entire thing. And we did kind of have little troubles every now and then because, so when we were painting the mountains, we realized that not all the words would be fit in one singular mountain. So we would have to kind of spread out the words to each different mountain to fit out all the words into the mountain. I think it makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bella.
All right, and now here we are to math. So it's funny because when I was asking students what they might be interested in talking about, no one quite volunteered for math. But it's cool because every single student in STEM works with math every single day, and especially with the financial literacy aspect of it. So school bucks, I say that word, who might have something to share about school bucks, like maybe what it is? Ryder, yeah. What is school bucks?
So school bucks is a school like financial system where every day you could sign into school bucks and you get how much money you earn every day. So it could be like 300 or 100 or even more.
And so when you say money, like, do you have like do I give it to you? Do you have a job or how?
We have a job, so it could be like a farmer, store worker, or a lot of stuff.
And what can you so can you put that money into savings? Where can you put that money that you have?
Yeah, you can put it into savings, but you can also use it as bidding, like for an auction. Mr. Honeycomb will put up first dibs on a 3D printer, candy, or the comfy chair. So that's what you can use the money for.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Ryder.
So yeah, school bucks is just a financial management system. It's like a student bank account. And what's cool is that students, they get a random job, but if they don't like the amount of money they're making, they can go to college. And then a lot of students see the college debt that they have, right after that happens. But they can also do other things. They can invest their money. We had a lot of our students lose their money instantly when they put it into cryptocurrency. But what's amazing is I'm having students come to me and they're like, okay, I need a long-term financial plan because I can't compete in these auctions. I don't know what's going on. And what's amazing is we have students who are offering their services with teaching other students how to use the 3D printer and 3D design. We got $100 out of the school bucks. And we're using that as a launching point. So one challenge I have to all students is, what's the financial sustainability of this project? So it's awesome that we have these 3D ornaments or these 3D keychains, but that costs filament, that costs money. And so the students are factoring in, what is the overhead cost to our program? And how can we factor this in when we are selling our products so that we can make sure that money is going back towards the long-term health of our STEAM programs. And so now we're here at the big picture. So I worked on a 3-year plan with Mrs. Bradley and Mr. Davidson and worked with very closely with co-superintendent Tina Cassens on looking over this 3-year plan, and also worked very closely with Miles Tuttle. And the hope is that we can expand our entire school to be fully STEAM integrated by 2025, as well as getting that STEAM school designation by that time. And the hope that we have is that we already have students that are in 7th grade social studies with Mr. Spalding, or in 6th grade English with Mrs. Hemmingson, who they have a STEAM tie-in to their project where Mr. Spalding is working on working on history. Students can create artifacts from medieval history that they can 3D print. But in order to 3D print them, they have to be experts on those artifacts. They have to use primary documents so that they are making an accurate representation of those artifacts before using the 3D printer. But what's so awesome is that those students might not even be taking art or STEM. They might be taking other electives, but that still means that every single one of our students at Woodland Park Middle School has the opportunity to work with cutting edge technologies that can absolutely be the beginning of their road to becoming architectural engineers or going into another field that can define their lives. And that's been something, what's been amazing is that has been in the back of our minds, but our students, without really having that challenge in front of them, have gone on to go so far beyond what our expectations and what our ideas were coming into this year. Because ultimately, at the end of today, this presentation here and what we're doing here would not be possible without our students. So students, you stand on up, take a bow. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to all the students that are being here. Thank you so much.
Questions for the STEAM group? I'll pass these.
Yeah. So a question I had was how long did it take you guys to do some of these projects? The pool table and the miniature golf, the panther head? Yeah, go ahead, guys.
So I was asking how long it takes to design it?
Design it, and how long it take you to design it, and then actually manufacturing it? How long does that take?
About 2 to 4 days, because the designing part takes like a day or two, and then the 3D print, because the 3D printer goes slow, so it takes a long time, so it takes like overnight and like half the day. So it takes a long time, so about 5 days in total to complete the project.
And are you guys going to STEAM every day?
Yeah, every day
Okay,
we're just working on new projects.
Do you guys take turns printing the projects off and feel like a wait list almost? I mean,
Because everyone's asking for this flash drive to plug into the computer and the flash drives in these programs.
Oh, wow.
I have a question for Bella, actually. So the mural that you're doing, because of the glare and the way that the light was on the, could you go to that? Could you read what that says for me? Because I can't quite make out the bottom line for that.
Okay, so the quote we have is every mountaintop is within your reach if you just keep climbing.
I like that. Thank you so much. It's amazing.
Oh, wow. That's cool. You can make your own Monopoly pieces.
Yeah. There you go. When you're
Everybody
talking
can be the car.
about how they invest their money in stuff, it sounded like a game of life. And so is that where the inspiration came from a little bit?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I'm actually working with a teacher from California who is a coder, and that is his direct inspiration. And what's funny is that there are students, I know you love these so much, random life events, right?
Yeah, great.
Taxes. Oh yes, there are taxes. Tax day is coming. So the random life events can be. So sorry, you came home and your pipes are burst. So we've lost $1,000. And I've had students challenge me on those totals. And it's really funny because they're like, well, I had been planning to participate in the auction, but I lost $1,000 of this plumbing incident. And, but no, the game of life is absolutely that inspiration. And what's cool is that students do have the opportunity to participate in something called Financial Fridays, and that's where they can say, hey, if you are wanting a lesson on 3D printing, because I'll be real, Tristan at this point can teach concepts, and I try to write down whatever I can. When he's helping another student, of course, I'm like, oh yes, thank you for covering that, Tristan, as I'm learning this as well. But what's cool is that students like Tristan are able to offer lessons that they can absolutely get paid for through the Schoolbucks platform.
Well, Tristan, it sounds like you need a job here soon. I love all these. I really enjoy chess. Chess is one of my favorites. So just to see these pieces and how intricate they are, really awesome job. Thanks, guys.
Right, so now if you like lose one of your game board pieces, you can just go make the replacement instead of having to hunt through the whole house.
Well, maybe they'll sell me some. They make a profit on these, so.
Has anybody ever made like a bobblehead of this? Because that, like, I was thinking like the panther head and or they could make maybe a honeycut bobblehead, I think.
I would be a little scared just because of some of the caricatures, but no, that would be awesome. I think what's cool is that we now have a 3D printer through Nate Owen's suggestion and him helping me through this process. We actually now have through a grant that we got, a printer that can actually handle a spring or make it really easy to handle a spring. And it's cool because just from that suggestion, I saw a lot of eyes light up here. So maybe by the next meeting, there might be a bobblehead available.
I could imagine, yeah, those could sell. And I was gonna ask the young lady about the mural. So this mural is already painted and complete?
So we actually just started painting it today.
Oh, awesome.
We're working on the sky first, and then we're gonna go in with the mountains.
And how many students are gonna be painting it?
So I have me, and then we have Jane Neal. She's also my partner in painting the mural.
Did you guys design it on a computer first or sketch it out?
Yeah, so we sketched it out on an iPad by Mr. Davidson, and he's the one who gave us app recommendations and brushes to use. But me and Jane came up with the sketch and the mountains and everything all by ourselves.
And how long do you think it's gonna take you guys to complete it?
Yeah. So today we barely got anything done because the sky is the biggest part.
So it's gonna probably take like a long time.
To be fair, I think a couple weeks is fair to get, I mean, they're even working behind. She's like freaking out. No, I think because we've scheduled in some other work dates for them and they're even like working kind of behind in an alley of the book fair right now as well. Like the book fair is literally living behind them right now as they're painting. And so
Okay.
they're like even other obstacles that are occurring in the library, I am not gonna let that stop their endeavors at all. Like we are figuring it out. So yeah, I have a lot of parent volunteers really help me be creative with the book fair so that we could leave an alley for them to continue to paint. So yeah.
Is it okay if I ask your students, we heard from, I think was it Tristan who got the pinball planned? Did the rest of your students have, ideas that they're excited about, that they're either in the planning stages or working on, or what's coming up next?
That's you.
Yeah, I think we can. So I think an opportunity that all students have is something called legacy projects in class. And the idea is that they're creating a legacy that goes beyond themselves and kind of has that next step. And I think as Ryder talked about, I think there is quite a line for that 3D printer. But what I think is awesome is we talk about student-led approaches. I read a book before I got a STEM job by a person from MIT called Dr. Neil Gershenfeld, who talked about how when you give students that agency to create in tech classes, they create laboratories of learning where they inspire each other. And what's really cool is that when now that students are seeing Tristan's pool table, they're wanting to know what they can create, what they can, it's created like almost this leadership process where now they're wanting to create something that can also be eventually put at the Rtc store.
Yeah, and then to even piggyback off that, just even 3 students taking just a tiny little task card idea and taking it to that next level organically on their own. And other kids have already seen that. They're like, wait, what? We can do that? And so just the door opens every day. Like they're opening the doors that we don't even know exist. They are just seeing it, they're imagining it, and they're creating it, and we're just there to like support them and give them whatever supplies they need to make it happen. But yeah, so I think this is an opportunity that can occur daily just based on them and their desires. Yeah.
Well, when the meal is done, I would like to visit the middle schools whenever. No rush, just however long. I see the look on her face. There's no rush from us. Whenever it is completed, I'd like to come on and check it out.
Oh, absolutely, it would be an honor. And what I actually just thought, I was trying to think, falsifiable, what can I, at the moment, as students have reminded me, I am 51, there are 51 prints in the queue. And so it's, there's a lot of excitement. I think one cool thing that, speaking to Ryder and Tristan's work, we are working to learn their process, like their trial and error process that they had, and working to curricularize that so that every student will have a opportunity to create a mini golf course, or if they get this idea, oh, I would love to create a pool table, we will encourage them in that idea too. But what's cool is that we're watching what students are creating right now and figuring out like, how can we give these opportunities to as many students as possible? But what's fun is that still having 51 prints in the queue, they've really taken the ball and run with it to get the year started.
Well, did these young men have actual like little golf balls and little pool balls for these tables?
Do you guys want blood?
I'd rather be doing that than taking pictures.
I sort of want to see it. Want to try it?
Yeah.
Did you see it? Well, I mean, just real quick. Okay.
Alright, it's kind of hard to get it up that little hill.
Wow. Okay.
You can bring the pool table over here.
Kristen. Get it?
Sort of.
Show me how it works.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to
Like, is there a technique?
Okay.
For this? Like,
That's-
just your,
You show me.
I have all of them.
You have like a little rack?
no, I like it.
I don't. That is also
That was cute.
And the queue?
I don't really know about it's just
No, that was great. Thank you. I don't know if anyone else, if you want to show anyone else, or are you want to look at? Did you
Oh, I
make
see.
that as well?
What?
Is it?
I'm making a cookie. Yeah, oh no, this was just a wire. I think my art teacher made,
Cool.
I mean, it's still a part of the engineering.
We're never going to,
I wanted to see you do it too.
Totally. Oh, there's a hole right there too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Great.
Good job.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
And make it a little cute. I mean, yeah. Oh,
Oh, no.
what else? One right?
Yes.
So did you say the pool cues are in the cubes?
the full cues are.
I don't know what you're telling you.
They waiting to be printed?
Yes.
All right.
You can tell them. Okay, so you're using pencils. They can send out an order sheet plus you guys, huh? Mr. Honeycutt?
Well, you'll have to come back and
Honeycutt?
with us.
Yes. Sorry.
Thank you.
Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the board, are those for sale? Could the board order some of those?
Oh, it's funny, we got a suggestion that well, kind of from the students, but also the teachers pointed out, those Panther heads would be amazing trophies. So, so Jacob, thank you for that. Yeah, but yeah, I think the moment that those items become available, we're working on, I'm working on applying another grant to get another 3D printer because I realized our capacity was way too low. But the hope is soon those will be available in the War store, and then absolutely, like whoever would want to buy them. I think Paige has talked about even getting them on the website as well. Like, yeah.
I
And
would let
so,
you know when they're for sale.
yeah. Well, we will work to make that happen though. Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Anything else?
Did David have any questions? All right, it's not.
No, but it's been very good listening to what all the kids do over at the middle school. I was glad to hear Miles say that you're working on a grant to buy more of those printers. I couldn't quite hear, but how much does a printer like that cost?
So we have two printers. One is a Flash Forge printer, which is really an introductory printer, and that one is $400. And it's great for smaller projects for students to learn, like when they're designing something on a computer screen, how that will manifest when they're holding it in their hands. But then this year, through the help of Nate Owen, we got a grant for a Dremel printer, which is about $2,000. And that has allowed the professional projects that we've seen from all of our students here today, but like the mini golf and the pool table, that printer is able to create those, like, I think, professional grade projects that you can kind of interact with. And the printer we're working on getting right now is we're working on getting another Flash Forge printer just to help us with capacity. But hopefully in the summer, I think I'm going to work again very closely with Mr. Owen to see if we can add another Dremel printer as well, just because that queue is adding up every day.
But no, with grants.
With grants, yes, through grant writing, though, of course.
Or donation.
Yes, like NPR.
Yeah, so for the.
Sorry, Ben, you sound a lot like Miles on the phone.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Maybe we could get some local donations from business and people around the county that would be interested. It sounds like such a great program, and we could really use some more printers. So thank you very much. I appreciate the presentation. It was great.
Thank you. And no, I love, I heard someone in the audience ask about donations as well. And that's something I think we're taking notes on what our students' website might look like, but maybe that's a button that we can look into and talk to our superintendents about how we could get a button on there to accept donations as well. But no, Mr. Rusterholtz, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you especially to our just our talented, our bright young minds who are sharing their creativity and their hard work with us. And thank you so much to our teachers who are guiding them in that path. It sounds great. It's just a ton of fun. It's really cool, guys. So we look forward to hearing from you anytime.
Yeah, please come back.
Got it for the same thing? Here, I'll hand it to you. That's too funny. Just have two.
Okay.
You just have to read your student test.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Comment in binder left. Okay.
Kelly, do the statement. Read.
It's not in the left binder pocket.
Oh. So I put David's,
Okay, so next on the agenda is our public comment. And this comes from names submitted prior to the start of the meeting. And I do have a regular statement I'm going to read here. So, ladies and gentlemen, please be aware that any personnel or individual student matters are considered confidential under Colorado law. And it is out of respect of the law and our employees and students that we require those discussions take place privately in an executive session. It is requested that individual comments be limited to 5 minutes or a total of 20 minutes total for a particular topic. And the intent of public comment is to give the Board of Education the opportunity to hear your comments. However, please be advised the board will make no decision or take no action on public comment during the meeting. Okay, so do we have any public commenters for tonight?
yep, we have two comments. First is Gary Brevetto and then Krishid Rogers.
Mr. Brevetto, did you want to make comments?
Oh, sure.
All right. I like that jacket, Gary.
Oh, thanks. Fits pretty good. Well, I'm here tonight to talk about 100 proposals, which is going to be my focus tonight. But I'm going to focus only on one bold and challenging one. So I'm not going to bore you with 100 proposals. So this is what I'm looking at. Of the 100 proposals, the purpose of some of these proposals I'm going to suggest to you guys is to expose students to opportunities to help them define their purpose and interests so that when they finish high school, they will have a clear direction and purpose in starting their careers in the workforce or college to be productive and independent citizens. Now, what's the one that I'm looking at this time? I would like to see you guys consider establishing a Woodland Park Vocational Technical High School and in conjunction with that, a junior RTC program. Now, why? Okay, well, the Vocational Technical High School, we want to be able to give the students a bunch of opportunities, many of them, to explore opportunities and possible certification in career fields such as HVAC, plumbing, electricians, construction, hospitality, medical, culinary, mining, automotive, transportation, logistics, welding, cosmetology, broadcasting, TV, radio, social networking, etc., and military kind of careers through the Junior RTC program. Now, these are very bold challenges, and I'm going to be honest, it's going to take probably several years to establish this kind of thing. But I want at least to have you guys start thinking about doing this. Now, why? Well, and maybe Del might correct me, and maybe Tina too, but about 2 years ago, I got some information that we graduated about 82% of our students, I guess. This is 2 years ago, not last year. And out of the 82%, 35% went on to four-year colleges. And the national statistics has it that out of that 35%, this is from the Department of Education and Bureau of Labor Statistics, 40% of them will probably drop out. So the question I have is, what do we do with the other 70% of the kids? To give them opportunities to start their lives. Some people do not want to go to college right away because they want to, they're going to school for 12 years, 13 years, they want to get their lives going. they could make some money and do some of that stuff. So I think we need to provide opportunities for those students to do that. And I think establishing a technical high school is something that I think is really sorely needed. There aren't many people, not many districts have a VOTEC school. I had one, I didn't go to it, but I had one when I was going to school about 3 years ago, I think. And, it was great. There was a lot of kids that really benefited from that. Another thing too is when you take a look at, the kids that we could service better, when you think about the careers that are out there in the trades, there's a very high demand for students entering the trades and the workforce. Way they're demanding really high salaries. I can tell you an example of one HVAC guy that came to my house. He was only out of high school 2 years. He's making $65,000 right now. And I think that's incredible. A welder. I know a couple of welders that are out there 2 years out of high school being certified. They're making $80,000 to $90,000. There are really great jobs out there in the trades. And I think we need to probably maybe pay some attention to that, maybe establish a program to do this. Now, how can we do this? It's going to be a difficult task. I think we need to establish a work group headed by a paid coordinator to bring together a team of community members who have influence with community workforce businesses and government organizations. And these people from the community, parents and people who work in the community, have influence with some of these organizations downtown in El Paso County and Teller County to support the education of future employees by establishing classes at the VOTEC High School. I'm talking about companies like Intelitech, Pikes Peak Community College, Memorial Hospital, Space Command, etc. I mentioned something about the Junior RTC program, which is kind of a separate program, but it's a great opportunity for kids. There's a lot of kids that do want to go into the military when they come out of high school. That's not really the purpose of the Junior RTC program. Junior RTC program is more of a leadership development program. And it's to develop leadership skills, customs, courtesies, discipline, citizenship, and they look at careers. So it's kind of a separate program. That's another opportunity that maybe we should investigate to see if we can get that here at Woodland Park High School. They start, it could be a 4-year program, a 3-year program, and a 2-year program. The neat thing about Junior RTC is that if someone chooses to choose a career in the Air Force, Army, whatever it is, they have one step above their contemporary because they go and can get up to 3 grades higher as soon as they list over someone who just comes in off the street. Another opportunity that they have is they are on the top of the list because they're graduates of the Junior RTC program. They can, in fact, 2 things. One, they are in a good position to get a 4-year scholarship to university, any university they choose. It's a great opportunity for them. All expenses paid, tuition fees, and they get a stipend of about $600 a month to boot. Another opportunity they have too is that each of the service chiefs has the opportunity to select 20 Junior RTC graduates for direct appointments to academies. So there's a lot of benefits to the Junior RTC program. So it's a great program. So 2 things, I said I was only going to cover 1, but 2 things. One is to establish a VOTEC High School in Woodland Park. I think we'd be pioneers in this area. I'm not aware of anything, maybe Dell is, not aware of a VOTEC school in Colorado Springs. We'd be one of the first. But I got to be honest, it's going to be tough, Now, what action do I have for the board? Because we usually come up here, we, spill out our ideas and stuff like that. What I want you guys to do, okay? I want you to consider a motion to have an action item to establish a work group to develop a VOTEC High School at Woodland Park to include the development of a Junior RTC program, which is a separate program. And also, I want a motion to be considered for action item to appoint a coordinator to organize and execute the work group activities. And that's what I got to offer for you guys tonight. So hopefully you can take some action so we can make this happen, provide opportunities for our kids to really, really do extremely well out there when they get out of high school and know that they're totally prepared to accept full citizenship in the community of leaders, if you will. So thank you for listening to this. And that's my input. Any questions?
May I respond a little?
Oh, sure. So Ms. Cassens has some thoughts.
I just wanted to respond for the board, just so you kind of know where we are with the voc ed and certificates. So just so the board knows, we do have students that attend Career Starts, down at Pikes Peak Community College. So a lot of all the things you list are the classes that they tend to take down at the Career Start. We have a bus that travels down there each day. We're working to fill that bus. Right now, we haven't had enough students. We have about 20 to 30 students each year that will enroll, but basically we have not put a limit on that. So we've said we'll fill the bus to take students down, and they start to earn those credits. They can enroll their junior and senior year and could actually stay on for a 5th year of high school through Ascent to get their associate's degree by the time they finish high school in those 5 years. So we do have a lot of opportunities there. We also have, the high school did start some certification programs. We actually get money for that. So for each certificate our students earn, there's a grant program where we get funding for that. We tend to get about 30 to 50 certificates that students get through welding, cybersecurity, different production art classes, as well as internships. I know anyone that came this morning heard we started a pretty robust internship program through the Pikes Peak Business Alliance. And we have about 50 students that have internships that they participate in through the Pikes Peak Business Alliance. Just so the board, just to fill in some of those questions about, because I do believe that is, preparing kids for whatever that next step is, whether that be 4-year, 2-year associate's degree, trade school, military. We do also have the high school looking at the junior Rtc program. It will become a budget question because it's around $100,000 to add the junior Rtc program. So we have that on our radar and are researching what's needed to participate in that program.
Thank you, Ms. Cassens. Thank you so much, Mr. Brevetto. Ms. Rogers.
So I timed this at home, it was 5 minutes 30. Is that cool? Because then I won't ramble really fast through it to try and, is everybody?
It's fine, thank you.
And I'll try to keep it positive because it's been so positive tonight and inspiring. Okay, so my name is Kershid Rogers. I am a mother of 2 in the district. And I just wanted to say, after attending the last 2 special board meetings, I feel like I need to let you as a board know that, as a member of last year's DAC, District Accountability Committee, and as someone who invests a lot of herself into our district, I was really deeply hurt by many of the board's recent comments. So I'm speaking tonight in defense of our committee, but also my hope is to increase understanding and offer additional perspective and hopefully address some of the frustrations that the board expressed about our DAC. As I heard it, the main frustrations of the board included, number 1, timing of when and how you heard from the DAC. And number 2, not having diversity of opinion on last year's DAC. And number 3, just a general lack of trust in the motivations and intentions of the DAC members. So I'll start by addressing concern number 1 on timing. I think you were frustrated that you didn't hear from the DAC on anything until the issue of chartering Merit Academy. And I'm here to tell you that I was frustrated too. After an introductory November meeting, 3 of the 4 subsequent meetings were canceled for various reasons that I'm not aware of. I did express concern, I was chirping. Dr. Neal later apologized for the shortfalls. In March, the meeting focused on a budget presentation, and really the next time we met was in May to review the merit contract. So I'd just like you guys to understand that the reason you didn't hear from us on other issues was not within our control, nor was it for lack of interest. Also in regards to timing, I think you were frustrated that you did not receive the DAC's recommendations on chartering merit before the public hearing on May 18th. And in my opinion, this was not due to a lack of consideration by the DAC. This was a product of how quickly the board was choosing to move. The DAC tried to accommodate your timeline by meeting on May 10th, the day the contract draft was released, and then again on May 17th after having an opportunity for review. The public hearing on May 18th was literally the first opportunity we had to present our recommendations to you. You also chose to vote on the contract the day after the hearing, May 19th. So we did not have another time to present to you or problem solve with you. And I would sincerely appreciate some recognition of your responsibility in that. Addressing concern number 2, diversity of opinions. When I hear you say there was not a diversity of opinions and that the DAC all agreed to oppose what the board was elected to do, I hear you attribute that to our principals selecting their SAC members. My response to that is I think we did indeed have diversity within the DAC. The kind of diversity I'm glad to have, like we had representation of GT families, our free and reduced population, families with special needs, parent with ethnic diversity. So I think when you suggest we lack, quote, the diversity consistent with the people of Teller County, maybe you're referring to political diversity. I'm not sure. I don't know the other DAC members' politics, but I do know that we worked thoughtfully and respectfully together when we reviewed the charter application and formulated our recommendations. Lastly, I want to address just the seeming lack of trust in the DAC's motivations and intentions. Statements were made about our motivations being to hinder, obstruct, and undermine the board. Statements about us not being interested in helping solve any of the problems with chartering merit, and that we were just, quote, wanting to create a public spectacle. And to me, these statements were really hurtful and unfair and inaccurate. When evaluating Merit's contract, Dr. Neal took us, there was like a good representation, there was about 15 of us, I'm guessing, through a pretty involved process. Like we had chart papers and categories, and we were up and we were writing and we were discussing and we were voting with stickers. It was really kind and collaborative and inclusive. The number of votes determined the priority of our 6 recommendations, and none of which were like, quote, shutting down Chartering Merit Academy, as you stated 2 weeks ago. We did ask for due process and transparency, a review of some specific contract details and alignment between the contract and MOU. But even when I read it today, I feel it's like a thoughtful, valuable advisement that you chose not to take into consideration. So I'll end by saying that we all volunteered for DAC before you were elected into office. We didn't come together to oppose you. We volunteer because we care about students and families and staff and WPSD as a whole. And I just wanted to say thank you also to Tina and Dell for tightening up our processes around like consistent meetings and training. I think that's really going to be an awesome improvement. So thanks. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. So next we have the consent calendar. So this time I will ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please, Kelly?
Yes, Austin.
Aye.
Illingworth.
Aye.
Kimbrell.
Aye.
Patterson.
Aye.
Rusterholz.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries. So next on the list is information items, which is going to be a student achievement presentation from Chief Academic Officer and Co-Interim Superintendent Tina Cassens. and Merit Academy Chief Action Officer, Dr. Gwen Peckron. Welcome.
Good. So tonight, as we present the academic information, I just asked Gwen to join me. So we're sticking with that theme of better together. So we're presenting academic achievement information for our 6 schools in the district. So you have a copy of this presentation in your binder. Everybody's good? Our goal is to walk through our state performance frameworks. So that if you think of that, that's kind of what the state calls our report card, if you want, or how we performed on the state system. We're also going to take a look at high-level scores for state assessment, look at some of our fall benchmarking assessments, and then just talk about our goals and focus areas for this school year. So starting with the performance framework ratings, we haven't seen performance frameworks since 2019. So we've been living off of frameworks that were quite old. So this year the state did issue what's called transitional performance frameworks because they don't have a full set of scores. So with growth, we only have students' growth scores for if they took the test last year. So growth is based on 2 years. And so they only had, last year only half the tests were given. They kind of rotated grades. So these are called transitional framework ratings. So I'm going to show you high level. If you look in your binders, you will have, and I sent these to the board, you will have the actual frameworks in there. These are the actual frameworks, and for anyone in the audience, these can be found on the CDE website. So you can find, as well as all of the testing data that we'll present tonight is found on the CDE website. So you do have these if you'd like to look closely at them, but I'm going to give you a high-level look at the performance frameworks. So if you take a look at the performance frameworks, I'm going to take this home? I'm going to travel with this. So if you look at the state performance frameworks, what I've brought for you here is kind of a summary. And you'll see the first bar talks about the percent of the score that we earned overall, the achievement percent that we earned, and then the growth percent that we earned. So the state looks at achievement as well as growth, and it breaks down those scores for all students, and then we take a look at some of our at-risk populations, students on IEPs, students that are English language learners, students that have free and reduced lunch. So it kind of breaks those scores to compute an overall score. And if the board would like more information on school performance frameworks, I can come back and do a little more on that. But I'm just kind of giving an overall. So if you look overall, this is Columbine. Columbine earned 69% of the points, which means they are a performance school. So they received what we call a green rating of performance. They had 60% of the achievement points, which makes that approaching, and 75% of the growth, which means that they meet the state. If you take a look at Gateway earned, they were actually our highest performing school on the school performance framework. They earned 72% of the points, which makes them a performing school and actually knocking on the door of what would be more of exceeds. They had 48.8% of the achievement, which is approaching, and this is really where they were shining. They received 87.5% of the points for growth, and that means they exceeded the state expectations. So we did have, if you look at our state performance frameworks, this was what is blue on the frameworks, and you don't see that very often. And so this was something that we were quite proud of that you'll see later when we talk about the things that we're proud of. And for Summit, they earned 53.5% of the points, which means they are also performing. So all 3 of our elementary schools are what we call green performing schools. They had 58.8% of achievement and 50% in growth, which were both approaching. If you look then, Merit did not have an overall score because of insufficient state data because they don't have growth scores yet. So since it was their first year, they don't have growth scores. They just have an achievement score. And also if you see their framework in the packet, didn't have any breakouts for at-risk groups. So this is an overall score for all students. So you'll see they don't have these 2 bars or an overall rating or an overall performance level, but 50% on achievement. So if you look at these for our 3 elementary schools, all 3 elementary schools that received the overall score are what we call a performance rating or green. Any questions about that for elementary?
So, what's the number cutoff for performance? Is it 50?
Well, it kind of depends on what category you're in.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Mhm. Yeah, so you'll see that a lot of ours are really close to going to the next category. So our approachings were pretty close to jumping up to being meets.
Okay.
But it depends on which category you're in.
Well, the overall, is that?
For
50?
overall, 53% is the cut for performance versus an improvement score.
Okay.
If you go to our secondary schools, the middle school received 60% overall. So they were also a performance school, so a green school. Their achievement was at 56.8, which is approaching. And their growth was 63.2, which is meeting the standard. Again, if you look at merit score, they do not have an overall score. So they just have the achievement score and just based on all students. So they did not have a breakdown for at-risk groups. So they had 75% of the points for achievement on all. If you look at the high school, 65.6 overall, which is performance. In academic, 65.9, which meets the expectation. 60.7, which is approaching for growth. And you'll see when we get to the high school, they have a new bar. This bar is for post-secondary workforce readiness. So that's where they factor in things like the SAT, which is a college test. They factor in dropout rate, graduation rate, matriculation, so where students go after high school. So you have kind of a complex formula that combines all that. For our high school, that was our highest rating, 71.6, which meets the expectations for the state. If you combine all of these for the district, we had 65% of the points, which again is a green performance score. Our achievement was 56.8, which is approaching, and then 66% for growth, 72% for post-secondary workforce readiness, which both meet the state expectations. Yep.
So on the district overall, is merit score factored into the achievement score there?
Yep.
Okay. And then what is, on achievement, since that's the only one we have merit for, what are our various cutoffs there?
So you're going to kind of see that as we head into the scores, because the interesting thing is when we get later into the presentation, if you look at all students, the Merritt Middle School kids and the Woodland Park Middle School kids are fairly close in score. But when you factor in things like we talked about when you break out those at-risk populations, how it affects your overall score. So if we look at all students, we're fairly close together, which you're going to see in a minute. But at the middle school, we have a score for students with IEPs and students with free and reduced lunch and different diversity groups. So you're going to see kind of how that works, because it's kind of funny that this is meeting and this is approaching, but you're going to see that their scores are fairly close.
Well, I'm just asking, and thank you so much, but what's the number between meeting and approaching and exceeding?
And again, I'd have to look because it's by test, by student. We were super close here to being at meet standards. The state doesn't publish yet. You got to dig into that. So I'm guessing it's right here that's going to be meeting standards.
And is merit meeting or is it at an exceeding level on that one?
It's just meeting.
Okay. Okay. And when would we get their growth and their overall?
This next year.
Okay.
So they'll have, when they take tests this spring, They will then have students that, because basically growth is computed by students that have been with you for a year. And so they take a look at how they did a year ago compared to the next year. So they will have the test scores from last spring. And then when they test this spring, so a year from now, when we're standing up here next year, they will receive the full bank of scores. My guess is for high school, it might be interesting to see where high school lands. We'll have to see how that all works. Yeah.
Right.
So, but they should receive a full bank of scores next year, and they'll get an overall rating. Does that help?
Yes, thank
And
you.
the state system, like I said, if you'd like more information on how they do the school performance framework, it has a lot of systems behind it. So I'm happy to sit with anyone that would like to sit and look at how do they compute this, but you do have a copy of that and it breaks out all the scores.
Sure, it's pleasantly complicated.
It's pleasant, but the state loves to do that. So again, we are proud to announce, I think for the first time ever, that Merit doesn't have a rating, but the rest of our schools are all green. So all of our schools are performance. Woo-hoo. We like that because that means
Fantastic.
So if you take a look at our scores, so let's talk about the scores that are behind that. Because the school performance framework is really the state assessments. So aside from that workforce readiness, it's really around that one test or multiple tests, that testing event that happens in April. So that's what really the state looks at when they give our performance scores. So here's what you're looking at. We're going to take a look because a lot of talk with scores has been how were we before the pandemic and how are we now coming out of the pandemic? Because what we see nationwide is that students are lower. And so our goal is we got to get to where we were before the pandemic and then we're going to keep going. So what I've given you here is a comparison to pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic. So 2019 versus 2022. So if you look at reading for elementary, this is the state, this is pre-pandemic, and this is post-pandemic. So you can see that we have a drop, and so that's kind of given us a new baseline that we have to work from. If you look at our schools, we tend to follow that trend. So Columbine, Gateway, and Summit. And you'll see that Gateway's drop's not as big, which is where you're seeing that they had some nice growth scores, so challenging students. And then we have Merit score. They don't have a pre-pandemic, but this is their score post-pandemic. So for them, this is their baseline. This is where they're starting. So you can see kind of reading trends. Does that make sense how that works? And if you have questions, feel free to stop me. If you look at math, so you're going to see some of the same trends. This is the state, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. This is Columbine. This is Gateway. So we went, woo, woo, Gateway. They bucked the trend and brought their math scores up. This is Summit. They squeezed a little bit higher. And then we have Merit here. So interestingly, you're going to hear us talk about that we have replaced our elementary math program because we have seen trends that it doesn't have the rigor that we need. Interestingly, Gateway in 4th and 5th grade, which is where this test happened, does not use the same math program because they're in the Summit Learning Platform. So Gateway, these are the results of our old math program. This is the result of the Summit Learning Program because they use a different program.
Did you say that
Go ahead.
Did you say that Summit and Columbine are switching math programs?
All of our Columbine and Summit, yes, we did an adoption last spring to a new program because what we found, and you're going to hear that in my summary, is that our math program we were watching trends and it wasn't rigorous enough.
Are they switching to the same platform?
They are not switching to the Summit Learning Platform. They switched to Rtc Math, which is actually one of the most used programs across the country that shows gains in scores.
And Gwen, what is the math program that Merit Elementary is using?
We're using Singapore.
Okay.
If you go to middle school, so pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, so again, you're gonna see these trends, and so again, a new baseline for schools. This is the state pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, and we are in reading. So we saw a slight drop. This is the middle school pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. So we're seeing some similar trends. And again, Merritt didn't have pre-pandemic, so they just have their baseline that they're starting with at Merritt. If you look at middle school math, you're gonna see similar things, kind of same graphs here. Pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, and a baseline score for Merritt. And in the graphs that compare the two grade levels, you'll see that I tried to keep the scale the same so you can kind of see how reading compares to math also.
Tina,
Mhm.
do you, the 2022 baseline, will that be our new baseline for next year, or do you keep the state as your baseline? Do you keep up in the?
Well, yeah, we want to keep growing our score. So if you look at the middle school, we're actually exceeding the state.
Mhm.
So we won't take the state baseline. So we'd like to get back up to where we were and then keep that going. So the goal is, and you're going to see that we found that we still have work to do with unfinished learning with our students. So we have to get kids back to where they were so that we can keep moving them forward.
So you would use this year's scores for next year's baseline?
Yeah, and what you'll see next year is you'll probably see a trend line again. We'll start to build that trend line again, and we want that line going up. If you go to high school, these are our very proud slides. If you look at the PSAT and SAT, so this is what's called evidence-based reading and writing. So the name switches a little. So if you take a look here, this is the 9th grade right here, and then I'm going to show you the 10th grade. So if you take a look, this is the state dropped, we went up. If you take a look at 10th grade, the state went up slightly, we went up significantly. So this is where we're quite proud of the work that the high school's done with rigor through the pandemic. And if you look here, this 10th grade PSAT score for evidence-based reading and writing is a historic high. So it is the highest score that we have seen for 10th grade PSAT for evidence-based reading and writing. Pre-pandemic, as long as we've been taking this test, which is about 7 years, this is the highest score we've seen. So out of the pandemic, yeah. So we were quite proud of that. If you take a look at math, big drop for 9th graders. Transitions were hard for kids in the pandemic. So big drop for 9th graders pre to post-pandemic. Our 9th graders went up. If you take a look at 10th graders, drop. Our 10th graders went up significantly. So way to go, Nate. Yeah, I know, you're the math chair, so pass it along.
I will.
If you take a look at SAT, so here is the ultimate test. This is what we're preparing for, right? This is what we send kids through our system to get scores on our SATs so that they have the option to be ready for college if that's where they're headed, but it's also saying that they're ready for that. So if you take a look, and this is what we're working towards, if you take a look at evidence-based reading and writing, the state dropped slightly. We went up significantly, pre-pandemic to post-pandemic. If you take a look at math, math dropped significantly by the state, and we went up. So what you'll see if you see the scores is in all 6 of those high school tests, 3 evidence-based reading, writing, 3 math, we exceeded the state on all 6. So we brought our scores from below the state to above the state on all 6. And another historic high, the 517, for evidence-based reading and writing is a historic high for the SAT for us historically, and that one goes back even farther. So we were quite proud of the work done by the high school. So all you high school teachers. So if you look at what we're putting attention to, in the school performance framework, there are some red scores, which mean that we didn't meet state expectations. And then we've done some data digging, and there are some scores that we're concerned about. So one of them is achievement with students with disabilities. So students that have disabilities are expected to still reach that proficient bar. And so we have to work more diligently to make sure our students with disabilities are reaching for that proficiency bar on all of our tests across the district. We found that we had a red bar for our, what we call our free and reduced lunch, or students from economically disadvantaged homes at Summit in math. And when you look at analyzing some root causes, when we went into the pandemic and were remote, Summit is our hardest community to get internet to. So being able to reach them, I worked on phones, and some people just live in places that nothing's coming to. So those kids were kind of off the grid for us when we did go home that first year. And so that we're still making up for that. So we still have to focus on that. Like I said, our 3rd through 7th grade math scores, we're finding are not where we want them. So those were our kids that were at home in the pandemic in elementary school, and math is harder to support at home. And so we're finding that we have to be more diligent with our math curriculum. So you heard a new curriculum for elementary school. And then you're gonna see a red, it's kind of interesting.